हरि ओम स्वामी जी।
हरि ओम। ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततन्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। Verse 49. दूरेण ह्यवरं कर्म बुद्धियोगात् धनञ्जय बुद्धौ शरणमन्विच्छ कृपणाः फलहेतवः। So buddhi yoga hai, Bhagavan says buddhi yoga hai. Durena hyavaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya. So buddhi yoga means karma yoga. And here as such the meaning of the verse will be, hey Dhananjaya, I have told you Dhanam Jayati. So one Arjuna is the one who has conquered a lot of, he has conquered a lot of wealth. So that's how his name, another name is Dhananjaya. He always he means indeed or therefore. Buddhi yoga compared to buddhi yoga, compared to karma yoga. This karma durena avaram, this action is far inferior compared to karma yoga. Karma is far inferior compared to karma yoga. So therefore buddhau sharanam anvichya. Buddhau means buddhi yoga, to the buddhi yoga, sharanam, take a refuge, anvichya means take a refuge, seek a refuge in the to the karma yoga. Phala hetavaha, those who perform the actions only for the result of action, they are krupanaha, they are misers. So this is what the meaning of the verse is. So buddhi yoga means karma yoga, because there is it's a difference is between karma and karma yoga is a attitude, difference of attitude, and therefore karma yoga is definitely called buddhi yoga. An attitude of what? Attitude of sameness towards all results, samatva. So definitely karma, that's why we call it as a prasada buddhi. That's a prasada buddhi. Behind a karma, you have a prasada buddhi, so it is called buddhi yoga. That's how it is. And then karma which is done under the spell of raga dvesha is far, far, inferior compared to that karma yoga. Different also, but it is inferior. And karma yoga involves a proper attitude, commitment, etc. And karma behind in karma yoga, behind karma there is a proper attitude. Behind karma there is also something. What is that? Raga dvesha. Why you do one particular action and not other? You have a choice. Why do you choose a particular karma only? Why not something else? Because that's how your desire is. Your desire is for a certain result. And therefore, you know very well that to achieve that certain result, you need a specific type of action. And so that behind karma, there is always raga dvesha. Behind, in karma yoga, there is a attitude of offering, or there is attitude of sameness towards result of an action. Either way, we have seen both the types of karma yoga. So karma yoga is basically attitude, an attitude behind the action, and attitude towards the result of an action. Both is there. Both things are there. And so the result of such karma is received in keeping with one's raga dvesha, and there is no samatva buddhi. Where there is raga dvesha, how can there will be samatva buddhi? And therefore, basically, if you don't get as per your likes and dislikes, you consider yourself as a failure, or you consider the result as a failure. Definitely. If you get according to your likes and dislikes the result value, say the result itself, we will call it as a success. And so success, failure, all other things, you brand towards a situation, toward a result of an action. So there is no sameness towards any situation. So this kind of a karma in which there is, there are raga dveshas behind the karma. There is no sameness towards the result of an action. Well, it is inferior, avaram, to buddhi yoga. So compared to that, buddhi yoga, compared to karma yoga, merely karma is avaram, far inferior. And so Bhagavan says to Arjuna to take refuge. Buddhau sharanam anvichya, he Dhananjaya. O Arjuna, take refuge to karma yoga. Take a refuge to karma yoga means karma yoga is not some kind of a idol and I take a refuge. Karma means you resort to this, a proper attitude behind the result, behind the karma and karma phala, of course. So buddhi means buddha sharanam anvichya, go for it. Pray for this, pray for attitude. In fact, that requires a prayer. You know, we are doing several karmas daily, but to develop this attitude and to develop even attitude towards result of an action, proper attitude, etc., it's a very, very difficult thing. So we have to take Ishvara's help, definitely. This attitude is, because once this attitude is developed, moksha is really within the reach. That Bhagavan is going to declare again, after just, next verse or next to next verse. He is going to tell this person is going to be liberated. He tells very clearly. So karma yoga is a very big thing. Once you get this attitude, well, prasada buddhi and ishwararpana buddhi, offering, etc., well, definitely the person is going to gain knowledge, because this raga dvesha will not have any kind of a support afterwards. And so they are going to die natural death, of course. And so here, buddhau sharanam anvichya and Dhananjaya, take a refuge into that. Because the person who perform, people who perform this karma for the sake of result alone, well, they will not have antakarana shuddhi, they will not be qualified, then they will not get moksha. And if you don't get a moksha, you are miser. Because the human life is meant for that. And there was a potential to gain that. And you have not utilized properly human life. That's all. And therefore, that's how you are called a miser. Because you have utilized your buddhi only for varieties of the means and ends. Thinking of the various ends to achieve, either in terms of pleasures or either in terms of power, in terms of security, etc. So, Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam taya aparuta chetasam, Bhagavan has told already. Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam, Those people who are whose buddhi, apahruta chetas means a mind. Bhagavan says whose mind has been, kidnapped. Well, who are those people whose mind is kidnapped? Minds are kidnapped. Well, they are nothing but they have avyavasayatmika buddhi. In their mind, there are many ends and many means to achieve that. And so, bhoga and aishwarya, different enjoyments, different power, etc. And for them, there is no karma yoga. Avyavasayatmika buddhi, no clarity with reference to what is the goal of human life. And therefore, the means also is not clear. If end is not clear, means is also not clear. And when end and mean particular, means and ends are not clear, you will have various ends and various means. That's how it is. And therefore, for them there is no karma yoga, and which makes them miser, because they do not make use their buddhi properly. So, Bhashyakara defines this miser well, referring to them as a dinaha. Krupanaha, here the word krupanaha means miser, and krupanaha is equal to dinaha, means helpless people, helpless recklings, etc. So miser are those who have money but who do not have a heart to spend. See, there are four possibilities into this. Four possibilities. First possibility, like the people who have money but do not have a heart to spend, either on themselves or for others, either. Then second, who have no money and therefore they don't spend. Well, they are not misers because they don't have money. Third, who do have a money but and spend when there are occasions to spend. Well, they are also not misers. So this third possibility is who do have a money but spend when there are occasions, then therefore they are not misers. Then there are certain occasions where you have to spend the money, and so they spend also. So they are also not miser. And the fourth one, a man who has a money and spends more than he was supposed more than he spends. He has some money but he spends lot. Means he is not judicious in spending. He is not judicious. Well, he is also not miser. They call it as a spendthrift. Whatever it is. So spendthrift. So he is also this is the fourth guy. So he is all like that. So is another problem. It's another extreme. Miser is the one, well, who has money but who do not have a heart to spend. This person is the one who has money, like a miser. He has money but spends unjudiciously. Well, so that is also another extreme. Well, he is not called miser, but that's also a problem. Anyway, but a miser is one we cannot spend because he is so afraid that his money is going. And therefore, he always keeps saving for the winter of his life. So, they call for the winter of his life. I have already told you, Krupanena samodata na bhuto na bhavishyati. I hope you will remember, before few classes I have told you, Krupanena samodata, the miser is the one who is the biggest donor. And because na bhuto na bhavishyati, there will not be a person who was in the past, a donor like him, who was in the past, or donor, there will not be a donor like him in the future also. Anyway, because we have seen why this miser is called the biggest donor, you know very well. And therefore, sometimes people, such a person dies because, before retirement, and then whole money has been taken away by his brother-in-law or sister-in-law or something. In-laws, generally in-laws take away a lot of money. And therefore, so these are the person. Purposely the word Krupana is used. It's not that Bhagavan is using first time. It is already there in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Anyway, so misers have that no heart to spend because their priorities are not clear. The same money, this earning can be converted into a multifold interest you can get. Multifold interest. This money you can spend in certain activities by which you gain a tremendous punyam. Tremendous. All Because most of the activity requires money. Like in doing some Vedic yajna for, like I'm just giving an example, like if this pandemic situation is there and then you call a priest and perform a Vishnu Yaga or a Dhanvantari home, etc. Or may you call some 11 Brahmins and then tell them, okay, you do japa for at least 15 days for the humanity, Dhanvantari mantra. It's a very big punya, very big. You may have to give some dakshina, etc., or may have to give some, offer some bhojanam, etc., well, lunch, etc. Well, this is also usage of the money. Multifold punya, multifold. So this money, so if the person is, if his priority is not clear, that with the same money I can utilize, I can do some benevolent action and I can earn, I will have a bigger earning. Money is also earning, but I will have a bigger earning by spending in a proper way. So this priority of doing a benevolent action, etc., I am not just telling that you should do, but I am just giving an example. So, there are ways and ways and ways and ways by which the same money which you have can be converted into a very big earning. And that too for future, for different janmas. Money you will have to live here and you will go. But you will, I will also, this is an example. Again, he will say, Swamiji, as if you are going to be immortal or what. No, this is an example. Anyway, so what I am saying is you can convert. You can convert. Just like people, have some money and they invest in some schemes and everything and they convert into very multifold, bigger earnings. So same way, but this is the biggest one. Doing a benevolent action, etc. Especially Vedic karmas. Laukic karmas also is going to give you punyam very much. But Vedic karmas give you multifold punyam, and all the karmas require money. Definitely. Vedic karmas require a very big money. And therefore, depending upon the karma. Like Atirudra Yaga, etc. if you do, you will have to spend in terms of lakhs of rupees. If it is Maharudra, it will be little less, and then Lagurudra will be little less, etc., etc. This is how it is. So definitely, so these people are the misers are one, they are not clear about what money is for. That's all it means. They are not clear. Money is there, but what for it is, how I can convert into how can I spend so that it would be beneficial to others in one way and would be beneficial to me in other way. So their priorities are not clear. So the meaning of the word miser is kripana is extended here for the disuse of one's buddhi. There it is a disuse of the money itself. He doesn't use properly. And here word kripana is not in terms of money. Not proper usage of the buddhi. So Bhashyakara quotes, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, and in that, in the earlier section, in the same chapter, Yoga etad aksharam gargi aviditva asmal lokan praiti sakrupanaha. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the third chapter, it's the 8th Brahmana and 10th mantra it is. Yoga etad aksharam gargi aviditva asmal lokat praiti. O gargi, the one who departs from this world without knowing this Atma is a kripanaha. So this is how it has been discussed here. So why is such a person called miser if person doesn't use his own buddhi properly? In a worldly manner, the person who does not use money properly is called miser. Here in spiritual, in the spiritual path, the person who does not use his buddhi is considered as a, properly he doesn't use, is considered as a miser. So the buddhi is a discriminative power. Of course, one is endowed with a human being and is the greatest wealth. The greatest treasure we have is the buddhi. That's how the human being is, of course, different from all other beings. And so its primary use should be for gaining self-knowledge, definitely. So not directly self-knowledge. Even to understand, even to do the Purushartha Viveka also is a use of the buddhi. Viveka itself is a buddhi. and then no other living being can do. Simple Purushartha Viveka. What Swamiji is simple? Nothing is simple. Yeah, okay. Then Purushartha Viveka. Purushartha Viveka, one can do. Purushartha is possible only for the human being, by the way. And even though we say the other living beings have the Purushartha of Artha and Kama, we say so. But it really speaking, they are all programmed. Their security and the objects of security and objects of pleasure are very less. That too, like a grass. grass. This cow eats grass day in and day out. After years also it keeps on eating grass and something else. So objects of security, objects of pleasure are limited for any living being other than human being. But human being has, well, it's a wide range and it keeps changing also. And therefore, so human being has all the Purushartha, Artha, Kama, Dharma. Dharma is a big Purushartha, only available to the human being, where you can grow and you can reach to almost the border of the moksha. Yeah, that's a Purushartha. By through Dharma, etc., well, you can come out of your basic tendencies, fancies, conveniences, etc. Ragadvesha. You can convert them. I mean, you can come out of that. You can win over them. Definitely, you can win over them. And definitely, that kind of a thing is not there in other living beings. They have their own likes and dislikes, but they are programmed basically. They can't come out. Dharma is a big Purushartha. And so when you are almost on the border of moksha, once you cross over that, then definitely, so its primary use, the Buddhist primary use should be gaining self-knowledge, doing Purushartha Viveka, then later Atmanatma Viveka, etc. And even Dharma Purushartha means gaining, coming out from your Ragadvesha. This Ragadvesha is we call it as the person who is having a Ragadvesha, he is a Prakruta Purusha. Prakruta Purusha means goes by his fancy. He is called Prakruta Purusha. Anyway, so he should gain this self-knowledge. So even though everyone has a good chance, of course, to use the buddhi, a miser, well, definitely hoards it or fritters away in petty things, his buddhi. And so the usage of the buddhi, the priority of the buddhi, priority with the human life, let's say, not understanding, he utilizes this wealth called buddhi in a very, very petty things, or he doesn't use at all. He hoards it as it is. And therefore, he is called miser. And therefore, the money misers live can be enjoyed by others. But here, if he doesn't use his buddhi, it cannot be utilized by others. So, definitely, that's a difference between money and buddhi. So, miser are people whose aims are always small results. That's what we have Avyavasayatmika, buddhi. No clarity. Not moksha. And therefore, for them, there is no karma yoga or sannyasa. Definitely. There is only sannyasa means there is no jnanam, there is no karma yoga. Because that attitude itself is not there. So only miserliness. So according to the vision of the Veda, of course, there are only two possibilities: to be a karma yogi or to be a sannyasi. There is no accommodation for the third kind of a person. So those who are neither karma yogi nor sannyasi have to become karma yogi. They have to develop this attitude behind an action. And two attitudes are there. Attitude behind an action is called Ishvara Arpana Buddhi, offering to Ishvara, offering to the creation, which is nothing but Ishvara. And therefore every day you need an example. It's not simple. Every day you need an example how Ishvara is working. And you should have you should have an alertness to look around how every form in the creation, every name and form, of course, but every form and is functioning in the creation, is just contributing in the creation, and it exactly does what it is supposed to do. And therefore Ishvara is in all the names and form. Therefore Ishvara is doing all the time. what he is supposed to do. All the time, 24/7. Creation is on. So sustenance is on. Resolution is on all the time. And resolution is nothing but recycling, basically. It's a recycling only. All the bodies, etc., resolve into what? Like this body resolves into earth, becomes earth again. And from there it becomes food again. And then from food again the body will come. Right? Annadeva kalvimani bhutani jayanti. Annena jatani jivanti. Annam prayanti. Abhisamvishanti. Tad brahma. And therefore this Annamaya basically. Anyway, Annam Brahma. So that is how Annamaya, this body, is nothing but the food sheath. We have seen that in Tattva Bodha. Therefore, basically, so this comes from the earth, goes back to the earth. Yeah. And again becomes all our potatoes and brinjals and everything. And that we eat again. And definitely we get a body. So this is how the recycling. The resolution is nothing but a recycling. A very big thing. Very big thing. If there is no recycling, there is no recycling, then how a new material will be there? How will you get all these 4 Mahabhutas? And therefore, definitely, it is required. And therefore, Ishvara is all the time on. Creation, sustenance, resolution. Constantly going on. If Ishvara is going to take a rest, we also should take rest. But he is all the time working. That's how our life is sustained. And therefore, looking at that, well, definitely, I am also supposed to do what is, I also do exactly what I'm supposed to do. And that is called offering. Offering to Ishvara. I also contribute in the creation. Whatever I can offer, I should offer. No karma is inferior or superior. No karma is inferior or superior. Inferior, superior, that's a production of the jiva. And the person who is having a material value, he evaluate any karma from the standpoint of, from the material wellness. And then he says this is inferior because it is not giving much material wealth. I may not be giving, this karma may not be giving the power, it may not be giving the wealth, it may not be giving name, fame, etc. Then say this karma is very inferior. He may say, the person who is having that kind of a buddhi. Well, definitely, karma is karma. Every karma is a contributory factor in the creation. And therefore, this is, Swami, we used to call it as a dignity. I should have a dignity towards the karma. And that I am a human being. I am at a given place and at a given time. I am having a certain duty. I am supposed to respond in a proper way. Well, and that response should be in keeping with the creation, in keeping with the Ishvara, in alignment with Ishvara, in harmony with Ishvara. That is the Karma Yoga. That's attitude. So, that's called Ishvara Arpana Buddhi, Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. Ishvara Arpana Buddhi, Arpana means offering, and so offering to Ishvara, like this. It's not offering a flower at the feet of Vishnu or at the feet of Dakshinamurti. Well, that is just a symbolic thing. What you do in a puja room in the morning, you are supposed to do in another 23 hours. That's another 8 hours. That's what it means. You are entering to a bigger puja room. That's all. What you do in a small puja room, you do it in a bigger puja room. That's what it means. Anyway. So definitely, and the person who has that attitude will remain a karma yogi and have a Shravanamana Nidhyasana or take a sannyasa and or do Shravanamana Nidhyasana, and he gains moksha also. And therefore, so those who are neither karma yogi nor sannyasi, they have to initiate. If they are really interested in moksha, and if they have that Vyavasayatmika buddhi, that there is a goal, a single goal of every human being, and that is moksha. But generally what happens, what is the goal of, I decide the goal based on the opinions of others. Then that doesn't work. I should independently decide. That is the usage of the buddhi. That is the usage of the buddhi. Not that somebody says the human goal is this, and so I say that is the goal. I should independently decide, Of course, in the light of Vedanta and in the light of the Shastra, that what is the goal of life? I have to decide. And not that the people give their opinion about the goals of life and I accept it without thinking. Then we are miser. We are not utilizing our intellect. So, and independently you cannot arrive at this goal also. Unless you have a satsanga or something, you have apada jnanam regarding this Vedanta. One cannot arrive at independently like that, one day, just in the morning, it happened to me that the goal of life is moksha. One day, just suddenly like that. It doesn't. That moksha is something, some other concept. So moksha means what? All that is to be clear. That's the end. And I cannot remain without that. That's, the moksha is something which without which I cannot remain. I definitely need moksha only. I definitely have a requirement of a mukti, freedom. And that is through the knowledge, etc. The means and so, etc. also become clear. And then after it becomes clear, then now what? Be karma yogi first. That becomes clear means what? Don't take sannyasa immediately, because raga dveshas are there, right there. And that's how the same way Arjuna. Arjuna has become clear that between prayas and shreyas, the shreyas is the goal of life. And perhaps he needs a teaching, so he requested Bhagavan also. But then still Bhagavan says, take to karma yoga. So Bhagavan says, because you have to, you know now, you have a clarity, that's clear, that's okay. But then you have a ragadvesha, definitely. So take care of that. So ragadvesha management is through karma yoga. So take to karma yoga, Bhagavan says to Arjuna. Let's go to next verse. Buddhi yukto jahatiha ube sukruta dushkrute tasmad yogaya yujyasva yoga karmasu kaushalam. Buddhi yuktaha, one who is endowed with this karma yoga, or one who is endowed with the samatva buddhi, sameness of the mind, iha, here in this world, in this life. Ube means both. But what are the both? Sukrita dushkrite, punya and papa. Here in this world, punya and papa, jahati gives up. So Bhagavan says the one who is endowed with the samatvam, sameness of the mind towards the result of an action, they give up, jahati. Ha dhatu is there in the third conjugation. And from there, if you remember, we have recently seen jahal lakshana, ajahal lakshana. So jahat means there we have seen, we have giving up a primary meaning, etc. So jahati, gives up. So in with the sameness of the mind, of course, towards the result of an action, iha in this life or in this world, both he gives up both punya and papa. Tasmat, therefore, yogaya yujyasva, you commit yourself to this karma yoga karmasu kaushalam. So karma yoga in action is the kaushalam, is a discretion, is in action is a karma yoga. We have seen that elaborately, this definition. We have pulled this definition of karma yoga from this verse, verse 50. So the idea already expressed is that you should not be attached to inaction. That's very important. Bhagavan has very nicely said in that verse 47, what is that? Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbuhu mate astu akarmani mate astu sangaha akarmani akarmani sangaha ma astu akarmani, towards inaction. So you may you not have a sangaha, inclination towards inaction. Very important, because if I brand the various results of an action as a success and failure, and there are more chances of a failure than a success, then definitely I will create a fear in my mind towards the failure. Before I start an action, this fear will arise. I may be the failure, I may not get the expected result, and then people tend to give up the action itself. So this thing happens only when you don't have a sameness towards the result of an action. And therefore, if you have that, this way you will not have, definitely. And therefore, you should perform an action with this attitude towards the result of an action. And in this commentary on this verse, Bhashyakara explains this Samattva Buddhi that is talked about is with reference to not karma, that is with reference to karma phala, definitely. That we have seen, Samattvam Yoga Uchyate is one of the definition. So what is gained by following dharma, right and wrong, and not mere raga dvesha, is also stated here. And in this world, of course, while alive, the person gains yoga buddhi, which means samattva buddhi. So Iha Bhagavan said, Iha means in this life. I mean, while the person is alive in this human form, well, he can develop this attitude. There is a potential, there is a possibility. So two buddhis have been talked about, Sankhya Buddhi and Yoga Buddhi. In verse 38, if you remember, verse 38 or 39, Eshate Bhita Sankhye Buddhir Yoge Vimam Shrunu. I have already talked to you before, in the verse number 12 to 30. Well, Bhagavan has talked about Jnana Yoga called Sankhya Yoga. And then after verse 39, on verse 39 he divided it too. That I have talked about Sankhya, talked about Jnanam, Atma Jnanam, and now I am going to talk about Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga. That's how Bhagavan created a division. And so there are two Buddhis we have to say, Sankhya Buddhi. Buddhi means here Jnana, and Yoga Buddhi, of course. And Sankhya, that knowledge we have already discussed, and now this Yoga is under discussion. Yoga means Karma Yoga is under discussion. Buddhi Yuktaha means what? Yoga Buddhi Yuktaha, because the verse starts with Buddhi Yuktaha, means Yoga Buddhi Yuktaha, endowed with the sameness of the mind, committed to a life of a karma with the Buddhi of Yoga, is called Buddhi Yukta. What does this person do? Here, Iha, in this world while alive, Jahati, one gives up what? Sukruta Dushkrute, Sushtu Krutam Sukrutam. Right? Sushtu Krutam. Krutam means karma, action. Sushtu Krutam, very well done. And Dushkrutam, opposite to it. So proper and improper action is called Sukrutam, proper action. Dushkrutam, improper action. So he gives up. This person, while having a sameness towards the result of an action, here in this world when he is alive, he gives up. He gives up these two, a proper action and improper action. This is what the problem is going to occur. These teachers are not there, this will create a problem. That's how people say there are 4 types of yogas. For gaining moksha, there are 4 paths. One is for intellectuals, that is a buddhi, that is a buddhi yoga or jnana yoga. They call like that. And then people who are not that intellectual and who are little restless, for them karma yoga. And then people who are emotional, for them bhakti yoga. And for the people who are good for nothing, well, for them, if they want moksha, they can do hatha yoga. That is how they say. But if they say, don't blame them. The verse itself is leading to this conclusion. Means the person who has a sameness towards the life, he will give up what? Proper improper action and proper improper result. Definitely. A proper action is going to produce proper result. That is punyam. And improper action is going to produce improper result. Papam. So here, while alive itself and having a sameness of the mind, means a karma yogi, etc., he gives up punya and papa. Means what? He is gaining moksha. Okay? So karma yoga also gives moksha. That's all. So then it's better than Swamiji, this jnanam is very difficult. This Kenopanishad and all that, toba. So it's better we will resort to karma yoga. It's much easier And just as you follow Jnana Yoga, we follow Karma Yoga. And some Bhakta will come, you advise him to do some Bhakti. And so 2 yogas are already decided in the chapter 2, in the few verses itself. Other 2 will be decided later in chapter 12. Definitely Bhakti Yoga is also there. That will give Jnana. That will give moksha. Nothing of that sort. Bhashyakara is going to make everything clear. That's how this Sampradaya teaching is very, very important. Otherwise, the verse can create a problem. If you just lift the verse like this and try to understand, that's how, if you remember, I told you that the one who has a total vision can interpret every shloka properly. And one who has studied every shloka properly and gained an entire vision, well, he can give us this jnana. You say, okay, I don't teach it, I need a teacher. I will independently study each verse. Then this thing is going to occur. Yeah. Earlier, Eshate Bhita Sankhya, the Jnana Yoga gives moksha, etc. Now, in this verse, it says Karma Yoga gives moksha. Because you become free from Punya Papa. Clear moksha. Clear. Crystal clear. We define moksha as become free from karma. Right? We define. So, this is how here it is clearly told. Karma Yoga gives you moksha. So, you don't require jnanam. Don't do shravanam, mananam, etc. Nothing is required. That kind of a conclusion may arise. If you just lift it, this verse, try to understand independently, this is going to occur. So one should have a total vision, and the teacher has, and then teacher will interpret this verse properly. That's how Bhashyakara, I will tell you, Bhashyakara properly defines it. So the verse says the Karma Yogi gives up Punya and Papa here in this life. But, can the result of an action be given up by Karma Yogi or not? Very first thing, before we go further, Karma Yogi is the one. Can he give up Punya Papa or not? Jahati, Sukrata Dushkrute. So he gives up Punya Papa. Cannot give up. Cannot give up. Punya Papa he cannot give up because he is a Karta. He is a Karta and he is a Bhokta. Any Karta and Bhokta is all the time. Karta is attached to the Karma. Bhokta is attached to the Karma Phala. How will he give up? So Kartrutvam and Bhoktrutvam itself, the definition of Kartrutva Bhoktrutvam means they are attached to the Karma and Karma Phala. So you cannot give it up. Just by your Sankalpa you cannot give it up. Remaining a Karta and giving up Punya Papa is impossible. Remaining a Bhokta and giving up a Punya Papa is impossible. So if we analyze, we find that the verse needs a proper interpretation. Anyway, so he can only become a master of likes and dislikes, and so that he has freedom from them. Basically, Karma Yoga can bring you to the level of, to the boundary of to the boundary of moksha, almost. As I told you, Shravana, Mananam, etc. is required, but he can become a master of his likes and dislikes. Now that's what it is. Master of likes and dislikes. You cannot, so master of likes and dislikes means what? Likes and dislikes are there, but they are under your control. That's all. So I am going to tell again and again and again and again and again and again, because our Vedantis have this kind of a conclusion. They have an orientation. I have to become free from total ragadvesha, which they will never acquire in any janmas. 7 janmas also it is not going to happen. Never it will happen. Never. And they are frustrated because they find that now they don't have any ragadvesha. And a new situation tomorrow will arise and something will prop up. And then they feel that this Vedanta is not working for us. Vedanta is not. They should understand that after certain maturity in listening, some other viveka is very essential, that is Atmanatma viveka. In fact, listening to Shastra is meant for Atmanatma viveka. Entering to the Shastra requires a different discrimination called Purushartha viveka. Once you enter, you should start Atmanatma viveka. And initially, even if you can't do at least after a few years of study. and taking the ragadvesha which is there in the mind as a oneself and equating moksha etc. with that, it's a big mistake. Vidyaranya says this in Panchadashi. It's a very big mistake people are committing. I mean, so they cannot differentiate mind and Atma. No, Swami, our mind is Anatma and I am Atma. That is just it's a parrot's word. Nothing but a parrot's words. Nothing. Doesn't make sense to us. Anything in the mind I equate immediately with the moksha. That means it's not understood properly what it meant. That's how Pujya Swamiji said at one place, which is really very astonishing, I tell you. I think in 16th chapter, some verse, I think, Bhagavad Gita 16th chapter or 14th chapter, I don't remember, but either of these. He said that even to acquire a good qualities in the mind is also it is embellishing what is that our what we say that through which we sweep the floor. Yeah, so that jadu. Yeah, so as if that particular by through which you sweep the floor and
it is called broom.
Yeah, broom. See, broom. So embellishing the broom. Embellishing the broom is acquiring Daivi Sampatti in the mind. You acquire whatever, I mean through many janmas, even if you acquire so many good qualities, okay, nice. And afterwards what you are going to do? Tell me, what you are going to do? You have to say one day that the mind is mithya, along with the Daivi Sampatti. You will have to tell. If you hold on to the mind as Atma, well, there is no question of Atma Jnanam. So then it is, Pujya Swamiji says, like we sweep the floor through the broom and then ultimately we put that broom outside. Somebody says, no, the broom is cleaning my home, etc. So I want to embellish it with a lot of ornaments, with rings and all this, some kind of a sutra and chain and everything and some bindi and all. It's useless. It's useless. So what are you talking? I am talking you from some standpoint. Please understand that. Then what? Karma Yoga is for what? Karma Yoga is to ultimately make your mind free. Then definitely mind is required to make. We require mind to make free from the Raga, Dvesha, etc. That's correct. But how long? How long? And Karma Yoga is not telling you to make your mind clean from Raga, Dvesha. Have a mastery over Raga, Dvesha. That's all it means. You cannot. Raga, Dvesha is born of all vasanas. Varieties of impressions. And those vasanas are so well rooted. I will give you an example of a single habit. Suppose you have a habit of drinking coffee. Let's say, just an example. You have a habit. Suppose by some doctor or somebody advised you, or you discovered that this coffee drinking is responsible for not having sleep in the night. Suppose. Well, and then everybody advised you that you give it up. And you also know that I have to give it up. Is it possible? Try. I am a victim. That's how I am telling you. I decide several times to give up tea because of some acidity problem. But every time I say, I will be able to give up. I could not give it. After a few days again. What I am saying is, it's okay. One can give it up also. But what ultimately is benefiting? Ultimately you are going to tell the whole mind is mithya. So don't equate yourself from the standpoint of a mind. That is Vedanta. Don't equate yourself from the standpoint of a mind. And therefore, ultimately, Karma Yoga's job also is not to make you free from likes and dislikes. And that's how only you will have a mastery. So, but mastery means what? Mastery means you have a freedom, whether to fulfill them or not. That's all. That's all. This is how it is. So, basically, you will have a freedom to fulfill or not to fulfill. That's all. And therefore, In this way, he can be, once he definitely becomes a master of Ragadvesha, he is in harmony with the Ishvara. Because Ishvara is also free from Ragadvesha. And he also has become free from the Ragadvesha. So there is now alignment. And therefore, in fact, more and more you become free from the hold of Ragadvesha, you are approaching towards Ishvara. Really. You are almost approaching to the Ishvara when most of your Ragadveshas are under your control. It may happen that you may get a partial control, etc. But still, if you are really becoming, if you really become a master of all Ragadveshas which is there in your mind, you are all very near to Ishvara. Ishvara's mind and your mind is nearly same. Nearly. Cannot be the same. Upadhis are different. One is Maya and one is... But ultimately it is nearly same. Because, why Swamiji you are saying like this? Because Ishvara's Upadhi is Vishuddha Sattva Upadhi, Maya. And our mind also has become free from the hold of this Ragadvesha, means free from the hold of Rajoguna and Tamoguna. And therefore, basically, you are also having a mind which is more or less Sattva. Ishvara's Upadhi also is Vishuddha Sattva. You are also having a mind which is nearly Sattvic mind. Of course, it depending upon karma, it may be Malina Sattva, but you have now, through Karma Yoga, you have made your mind Sattvic. That's how in Karma Yogas, while I gave an introduction to Karma Yoga, I have told you, one has to choose a Sattvic karmas, if you remember Panchamaha Yajnas, etc. So those karmas which will enhance in your mind Sattva. That's Bhashyakara is also going to tell here. And that is why more Sattva, then you are approaching, getting aligned with Ishvara. Getting aligned with Ishvara. And therefore Ishvara is enjoying. Ishvara is free from the hold of Ragadveshas, and Ishvara is having that, joy all the time. And this Jiva also, who has become free from the hold of Ragadvesha, he also is having a composure of the mind, joy of the mind, joy of the mind, etc. He is also getting. So, and definitely this Karma Yogi becomes eligible for gaining knowledge. So a Karma Yogi has a Kartrutva, whereas a Sannyasi, of course, he doesn't have a Kartrutva. Sannyasi means a Jnani, of course. Because Bhashyakara, why I am referring this, if you read Bhashyam, in Gita Bhashyam, you will find for a Jnani, Bhashyakara has not used word Jnani often. He has used most of the time word Sannyasi for the Jnani. And therefore, if you do, you should not get confused, because we have already defined that to gain moksha there are two lifestyles, if you remember. And one is a lifestyle of a Karma Yogi, that is, and the other is a lifestyle of a sannyasa. Both, either the person can remain in a grihastha and person can become a sannyasi, and the person has chosen to remain in grihastha and performing karma with that attitude, with a Karma Yoga, because he feels that I need it because I want to be eligible for the jnanam. And sannyasi, basically, he also has karma, basically, which he has to do with the attitude of Karma Yoga. That's the nitya karmas are there. So, but anyway, more or less he is free from karma, because he can commit himself to Shravana Manan Nididhyasanam. Karma Yogi has to do some of the karmas with that attitude, and also he has to do Shravana Manan Nididhyasanam. So two lifestyles are there for gaining moksha. But Bhashyakara generally refers to Jnani as sannyasis. Sannyasi means committed lifestyle. So and therefore, so a Karma Yogi has a Kartrutva, but who has a Jnanam will not have a Kartrutva. When you look upon yourself as, of course, a doer, well, you have a doership, and when you have doership, you cannot escape from the result of an action, and therefore, definitely this Karma Yogi cannot become free from this Punya Papa, even though it has been told in the first line, but definitely it is not. So, both the current Punya Papa and the old one are all standing in his account, because the account holder, that Karta, is right there. So then the question of how one gives a Punya Papa would naturally arise here. How Karma Yogi gives a Punya Papa? Why Bhagavan has said like that? So we have to understand that. And it is said, when Karma Yoga is there for a person, definitely knowledge is not far away. That's how, if you remember, I will remind you a verse. Neha vikramanashosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat abhikramasya nashaha nasti. Bhagavan said, abhikrama means a beginning, arambha. If a person begins a karma yoga, he has just recently done a sankalpa that he will do the activity, all the actions through this attitude. He has just begun. Still, Bhagavan says he will be free from the Mahan Bhayam. And the greatest fear is the fear of death. Means he will become free from the fear of death. Means he will gain moksha. So Bhagavan all the time equates Karma Yoga directly to moksha. This is not just the first time. Earlier also has Bhagavan done. Means the person who has gained this, who has done this Karma Yoga, his mind is such that he is going to gain knowledge. Yeah, I will give you an example. The person is studying in the first year of medical school. He is in the first year. Still people call him a doctor. Why? You cannot call. He is studying right now in the first year of the medical school. Still people call him a doctor. This is how it is. Because why you are calling him a doctor? He is going to be a doctor. Same way this Karma Yogi is going to get a moksha. And therefore Karma Yogi is going to gain this freedom from this Punya Papa. And therefore Bhagavan is telling this Karma Yogi is the one who becomes free from this Punya Papa, etc. So as long as Karma Yoga is there, there will be Antakarana Shuddhi, which will be soon followed by, of course, knowledge. And Bhashyakara points here as Bhashyakara uses one word, Sattva Shuddhi Jnana Dvarena. Sattva Shuddhi Jnana Dvarena. Means Sattva Shuddhi, Karma Yogi gives a Punya Papa here in this world while he is alive, of course by means of Sattva Shuddhi. And Sattva, word Sattva in Bhagavad Gita has been used for mind, one thing. Mind is called Sattva because made up of Sattva ultimately, Sattvic aspect of all the elements. And Sattva Shuddhi means Antakarana Shuddhi. And definitely in Chandogya also this has been used. Word Sattva has been used for mind. Several places in Shastra it has been used. In fact, even in the verse, in chapter 16 also, Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhihi, Jnana Yoga Vyavasthitihi, etc. etc. The very first verse in the chapter 16, Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhihi. Sattva Samshuddhihi means the Bhava Shuddhihi there. Means Antakarana Shuddhihi. And so it is, means here it is Antakaranam. So Sattva Samshuddhi Jnana Dvarena. So by gaining Antakarana Shuddhi, and by after that Jnanam, and Jnana Dvarena means through that, well, by he will become free from Punya and Papa. So Karma Yoga takes care, of course, of the Antakarana Shuddhi, and then knowledge, of course, is gained. Shravana, Mananam, etc. has to be done. Mere Karma Yoga cannot give you moksha. And we have seen the logic. Why Karma Yoga cannot give? Because the Kartrutvam is right there in the Karma Yogi, because of the Ajnanam is there. And if Kartrutvam is there, definitely he is going to get attached to the Karma, and Karma Phala will also he is going to attach, because he is an account holder, and therefore Punya Papa will be his account, and definitely he will have to undergo the experience, the pleasure and pain of that Karma. So, and definitely, so this way we should understand, and further we will see tomorrow, a day after tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.